Ready?
Justin, middle of the field, 45, 50. Green grass in front of him, leaving Lions in his wake.
I am Jeff Joniak.
Blitz is on. Down he goes! Husker!
What was it like playing for Coach Ditka?
I don't want to answer any questions like that.
61 yards! A Sunday stroll for Justin Fields.
Oh, wow!
And
Now, Bears Etc. with the voices of the Chicago Bears, Jeff Joniak and Tom Thayer.
Another newsy day up at Hallis Hall as the Bears begin the work week on the practice field for the defending world champion Kansas City Chiefs. We'll discuss why on episode 18 of the Bears Etc. podcast. Good to be alongside Tom Thayer, my Super Bowl winning Bear buddy. I'm Jeff Joniak. Joining us today will be the veteran voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, and thanks to our producers, Dan Barilli, Jordan Tredup, and Katie Tuber. Let's get right to the chase. Statement today from the Bears that they've accepted the resignation of defensive coordinator Alan Williams as he deals with some personal issues. So Matt Eberflus will continue on as the man calling the plays and be the head coach, and so spreading thin to help on both sides of the ball. But Tom, I know I was asked on ESPN 1000 with Watto and Sylvie on Wednesday afternoon, should he go out and hire a defensive coordinator? Could he bring in a Rod Marinelli? Could he bring, even up Lovie Smith? And I said, no, there's plenty of examples. We just got done with one in Tampa. Todd Bowles calls the plays and runs the show for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's not unusual. It's his defense to begin with, and I think just hit the ground running now and move forward.
My only suggestion would be that earlier Wednesday at the podium, he talked about the distribution of his time as the head coach. Now that they have this information, I think he should distribute his time as the defensive coordinator and allow the offensive coaches to handle the offense. And it's been done before. So you're not releasing any of your duties. You're just focusing your time on getting this defense pointed in the right direction.
Yeah. So at this point, it's only week 3 in the season. Plenty of time, obviously, but there needs to be some stability here right now. Justin Fields at the podium was the other big story today, and then invited players, reporters after the interview in the locker room to discuss how he presented that information after practice. And, he's putting it on his shoulders. It is on his shoulders. He's trying to find his own clarity to be a better quarterback. And as you talk about, thinking as a rule in football is not the best, but when you're playing quarterback, and I just talked to Jim Miller about this, our good buddy who always helps us out on Bears Weekly during the offseason. Whatever word you want to use, processing is thinking. Thinking is processing. It's a thinking man's position, but when it's time to grip it and rip it, you rip it. And there's times you have to diagnose and understand and try to figure out what the defense is doing to you.
Yeah, but one thing that frustrates me for the quarterback position is they make him go to the podium immediately following the game, and then they make him go back on Wednesday. To me, one of those should be washed out. First of all, if you are, as an offensive lineman, if you asked me to go to the podium immediately following the game and give you answers why things worked or didn't work, I couldn't do it because I need to go back and study the film because there's so many moving parts to the football team. And so one of the 2 days, and to me, I wish it was at the podium immediately following the game. Then you get out there on Wednesday when you had a time for tape evaluation, you could probably give clearer answers. But when you're peppered from every different direction, sometimes you just say something that you wish you could take back. But now in the modern day world of social media and everybody trying to capture a story, you can't do it.
Well, the funny thing is, even you and I just watching a game, we get frustrated. We say things that maybe we don't mean, then we watch tape and, either confirms our feelings, right? Or we say, well, wait a minute, because you've done this already here on the short term this season. You've said, now, wait a minute. Now this was better than I thought, or this was worse than I thought, or whatever. And as a player then, when you did interviews, they didn't have podiums back then. They went to your locker and you gave whatever spiel you gave. And I don't know how accommodating you were as a player. Did you feel you had to answer questions? I know you after the game you were on radio shows during the course of the week as a player. All you guys were. But how did you handle media coming to your locker right after a game?
I was fine because I felt that I could answer any question that was asked of me. But I had a lot of experience with that at Notre Dame because Notre Dame, I went through the first losing season in 18 years. And so there was probably more media in our locker rooms after a losing season than after a winning season. In my sophomore year, we played Georgia for the national championship. So you learn about what life behind the microphone is going to be like when you get to the NFL. But I was also very cautious what I said because of Mike Ditka. And I remembered one time disagreeing with a choice that he made not to go for it on a 4th and 2 situation. I said it. They wrote about it in the paper. He called me to his golf cart on my way out to practice. He yelled at me, yelled at me some more. And so then it just made me think about every single answer I said. And, it's a different way of life nowadays than it was back then, but you're still going to get criticized by the head coach if he reads something you don't like.
The gist of Justin afterwards said, I'm never going to blame anything on the coaches. I'm never going to blame anything on my teammates. Never will you hear that. So I just want to clear that up. Just know that I need to play better. Point blank. That's it. And frankly, from my perspective, whether I'm a fan or here an observer of what transpires each and every day up here at Hallis Hall and then on Sundays when we call the games, that's all I need to hear. And it also tells me he is a competitive guy. We always hear that. I mean, we were in Indianapolis. I saw him during their off time, but after practice and before a meal, playing in playing ping pong and right. Competitive. He's competitive, and he wants to be great. He wants to figure this out. It's not like he's just resting on his laurels. We've seen plenty of quarterbacks come through here that maybe didn't have that same mindset. So I appreciate the mindset. So let's hope this is the beginning of a new day. It's an early part of the season, and you're going in to face the world champions. Everybody should have the mindset, Tom, like, okay, forget if there was nothing going on. What if it was just a clean road, everybody's healthy, you're going into a stadium to take on the world champs. That's the game you circled in May as, we get to play the world champs in their building, and we're going to try to slay the king, right? I mean, you're going to the kingdom. They call it the kingdom. Go there, play just completely rambunctious, and get the job done and pull an upset and see what happens.
At the conclusion of the game, when you do go and watch the film, it's all about how do you make corrections. You don't sit there and dwell on the mistakes and just think about the mistakes. You said, okay, I made a mistake here. What do I do the next time I run the same play? And how do I get better? And I think when you look at how does Justin Fields get better, it's partly coaching and it's partly Justin. No one has all the responsibility here, but it is about making sure you watch the film in order to get better.
But Tom, now listen. Okay, you've mentioned it more than once, but now we got a new day podcast here. We got a preview for the Kansas City Chiefs. So as you close your eyes and dream up a game plan for Justin Fields within the context of the scheme of the team and Luke Getsy and his offensive staff, what their designs are against Kansas City now, because you're game planning the world champions with a much better defense than maybe people want to give them credit for, and Chris Jones is back, and Steve Spagnuolo brings pressure and all that. What would you like to see Sunday from Justin Fields and the offense?
Do you really want me to tell you my secrets? Because I have an exact plan in mind what I would do for him starting Sunday.
We can make an editorial comment. This is an opinion of Tom Thayer's, an idea of Tom Thayer's, not representing the Chicago Bears coaching staff and a game plan.
Okay, Jeff, how wide is a field?
53.5 yards, buddy.
There you go. So every single snap, or not every single snap, but 9 out of 10 snaps, I'm taking half of that field away from him. Everything is going to move to one side of the field. The reads are going to be immediate. It's going to be 1-2. They're not there. Run. And it's going to be rolls. It's going to be bootlegs. It's going to be waggles. It's going to be play action. It's going to be an aggressive form of passing where my decisions are made immediately. One of the things I saw in training camp, I thought that they could really run an interesting two-man game to one side of the field. And that's Claypool and DJ Moore, or Darnell and or whatever two receivers you want to put out there, including Cole Kmet. And so the immediacy of the decision is going to be visually right there for you because both receivers are going to be kind of leveled on each other. And then if Justin doesn't see what he likes, then you take off and then you run the ball. And so that does one thing for me, is it makes blocking more aggressive, simpler for the offensive line. And if you don't have a plan of attack that includes the protection by the offensive line, you're never going to be successful with Justin just sitting inside the confines of a pocket, because now it's outside rushers that create contain. Now you're kind of in a cup. And then you got the defensive tackles that are going to have some push forward, and they're going to close that distance. So 53 yards, cut it in half. My game is going to be one way or the other, and I'm going to use the blessed ability of Justin Fields. He's got arm talent. He's got accuracy. He's got distance. They have talented receivers, but they are not going to pressure me from the pocket. And so now Steve Spagnuolo, if he has all these sophisticated blitzes that are coming from the interior, he's already away from those guys. Now my offensive line, they don't necessarily need to have a vocal count because you're not going to hear it in Kansas City, but they are going to explode off the line of scrimmage.
Make them pay.
They are going to blow up, but they're going to do it in a direction, Jeff. So they necessarily don't know who is their pass protector. They don't know how to set Chris Jones on the most vulnerable person in there. And, we used to, it was Hilge. Jay always used to call the bootleg the play of the 90s.
Right.
Because it's the easiest play that you can possibly run. It's the most successful blocking scheme an offensive line that has some susceptibility on the road can use. And
it's half field.
To me, that's my game plan.
Yeah,
so,
and that's a half field play.
Yeah,
exactly. That's a half field play.
I'm not going to have Justin drop straight back and read 53 yards. I'm going to have Justin use his blessings, get to the outside, 1-2, go.
Plus, if I'm
1-2, open throw.
If I'm not mistaken, too, and we discussed great defensive linemen over the years in our 27 years together, and you're a couple things. One, use their aggressiveness against them, and get them running. Get them running horizontally. So they're just not charging through a gap upfield, relentlessly and using all their toolbox. Get them moving a little bit. And so that's what I would want Chris Jones. Get them moving.
I was telling you about a game when we played the Buffalo Bills when they had the great Bruce Smith and Darryl Talley and Fred Smerlis and the rest of these great defensive linemen. If you kids are too young, go and look them up. But we didn't throw any drop back passes. Everything was play action. And we are super aggressive. And so they were confused. Is this a run or are they throwing the ball again? And the quarterback had a great day and we beat him convincingly. So I think that's something of when you have some deficiencies, you can revisit that type of game planning. So
we're brought to you by Miller Lite, the official beer of the Chicago Bears. Tastes like Miller Time Chicago. And take a chance. Download the Bet Rivers app today. Let's pause right now and move into our interview with the great Mitch Holtis, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs. All right, my man's here. Mitch Holtis, one of the guys I've looked up to in this business since I got involved with play-by-play 23 years ago. I remember pulling you aside at a Kansas City game, introducing myself. I was nervous as hell. Honestly, I said, I got to meet this guy because I just love how you call a game. Mitch Holtis, the veteran voice of the Kingdom, as he calls it, and as they call it in Kansas City, a very unique and special time happening in Kansas City right now, but has to have been the time of your life here since Andy Reid took over in Kansas City.
Jeff, it's only my 30th season, and I can really categorize them into segments. The first 5 were with Marty Schottenheimer, the last 5 of his time in Kansas City, and he was a phenomenal man and coach. The next 14 were the time in the wilderness.
Yep.
Okay, looking for manna to come down. But 3 playoff appearances, 2 of those, the Chiefs weren't even competitive. And honestly, it was brutal. And then it reached a head it was 2-2-14 seasons. And then in 2012, we had a player, that took his girlfriend's life, who just happened to be Jamal Charles, our star running back's wife's cousin. Then he took his own life on the front steps of our facility. It doesn't get any worse than that. It was a bad environment, a lot of bad. And then Andy Reid came, and it's like the old movie Pleasantville. Like people just started popping up in color one at a time. And truthfully, this has been a phenomenal 11 seasons, 10 straight winning years, to win 2 Super Bowls in a 4-year span, to go to 3, in many ways has been unparalleled. To host 5 straight AFC Championship games that's history. It's never been done by any team in either conference. To win the division, which is a division that's much like yours, It's historic, and it's very, very tightly contested. Every division team has won 15 division titles in 60 plus years, and yet we've won it 7 straight years. I mean, that's never been done. Only second in NFL history behind the Patriots run. So, yeah, we're in unprecedented times, at least in the Chiefs' kingdom. But historically, it gets compared now to some of the greatest in the league.
Yeah, I was the Bulls' pre- and post-game co-host during the Jordan era, and you knew every single night, once they started winning and they started collecting championships with MJ, every night was a show. Every game's a show with the Chiefs. It's the whole hunted and being hunted thing, right? And every snap matters, just like MJ and the boys, every dribble mattered because everybody was out to get them, and they couldn't do it. Is there that sense now for you as a broadcaster? I haven't called many playoff games in my 23 years, and I've been involved with the organization for 27 years, and it's been a roller coaster ride. So when you get to a playoff game, it's like a massive treat. Now you're used to it. You know you're going to the playoffs every year. I mean, do you feel though that every snap matters throughout the regular season now because it's Andy, it's Patrick Mahomes, it's Travis Kelce, it's Chris Jones, you never know what's going to pop up next.
Your assertion is spot on, and I'm glad you brought it up that way. And your analogy with the Bulls, I don't think is far off, because you could put Kelce in the Scottie Pippen role. I mean, you've got 2 of the greatest to ever do it that are doing it now year after year after year. Kelce's redefined the tight end position. And the fact that now we talk about pass catchers. When your audience hears this, they'll go, what? Because if you look at playoff history, Kelce with receptions, yards, and touchdowns, only Jerry Rice has more than Kelce in NFL history. Okay?
Wow.
So that goes beyond tight ends. But your assertion about every play matters is so spot on. It's even intensified where only one team now gets the bye. And we've seen the AFC just go all in, man. Yeah. They're just like, they spend every waking minute. And this is going to sound arrogant. I don't want it to be arrogant, but this goes back to the Bulls. Every AFC team has spent every waking minute figuring out a way to knock us off. And even the narrative last year was these guys lose Tyreek Hill. They're going to be covered in volcanic ash by Halloween and all this stuff. And then that's why when I said when the Chiefs beat Cincinnati in the AFC Championship game to get another Lamar Hunt trophy, I said, you can doubt the Chiefs, you can dislike the Chiefs, you can disrespect the Chiefs, but you're going to have to deal with the Chiefs. Yeah. And you could have said the same thing about the Bulls. It wasn't an arrogant statement. It was more of like, all this was pent up inside. But yeah, Mahomes to Jordan is a very accurate analogy when you look at the competitiveness, the unique athletic skill of the two, and their creativity. I think that's really, really good on your.
Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, our guest on Bears, etc. As we come to you from Hallis Hall today, we'll break down the matchups in this one with Tom Thayer a bit later on in the program. I didn't mean to even bring in the NBA angle, but I was asked about him the other day by a bunch of Bears fans, Mahomes, and I said, we've seen some great ball handlers in the NFL in history, the guys who can carry out the fakes. I mean, I think of how Peyton Manning set up play action. You never knew if it was a pass or a run throughout the course of his career. But Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, they are point guards. Patrick Mahomes may be the best point guard in NFL history because it's just you never know where it's coming from, why, how, and it doesn't matter. It's just he is hard to figure out and hard to stop. Would you say that's a fair representation about the underrated aspect of his game is the ball handling, the ball faking?
Very fair. And let me relate to you a story. So it's 2018. People forget he apprenticed for all of 2017, did not play. So when you see these stats of like in his first 6 years or a quarterback, he gets compared, he basically didn't have a rookie year, but he did. It was all spent with. But I said he was playing Augusta, but never playing the Masters, right? But I was on with Greg Papa, then the touchdown Raiders. Now he's like San Francisco, and he goes, I know I'm ripping off your deal because I'm Kansas City. He called me. He goes, hey, dude, I'm going to rip it off.
It's flattery. It's flattery.
Well, okay, fine. But I was on his call-in show, right? I was on a show like this, and I could hear his like co-host and producer, and they go, who does Mahomes remind you of? And I go, Steph Curry. And I could hear them all like, ha, 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 ha. Well, yeah, what's he?
Home run,
At the end of that year, they had me back on going, dude, you're right.
Yeah.
So your ball handling he's phenomenal. And you throw that in with the NASA scientists that surround him, and then Andy Reid with motions and deception. But yes, I mean, he's like Meadowlark Lemon in the Globe back in the day. But his ball handling he'll drive linebackers crazy. And we're very hard to play if you don't play us a lot. We're kind of hard to play if you do play us a lot. We're 37-5 against the AFC West this last 6 years. And I don't mean that to be arrogant. It's like, what? I mean, this division's really good. But, I mean, 37-5, well, a lot of it is he's hard to play against. And his ball handling is phenomenal. I don't think we've seen anything like it in the league.
What would you think, and I'm not sure they haven't talked, but maybe they have, maybe they haven't. What do you think, knowing now Patrick Mahomes, what his advice would be for Justin Fields as he enters a really important time right now, week 3 of his 3rd NFL season?
Hang in there. This has not all been unicorns and candy canes for Patrick Mahomes. I remember him losing back-to-back games in 2018. I remember having discussions with him in that apprentice year of 2017. I remember a couple times we just got together and just chopped it up. But I was really interested because if you look at his Tyler Whitehouse high school days, he's either winning or losing games like 69-67, right? And I go, that's not the NFL. If you go back and look at Texas Tech, he would lose to K-State 71-69 and threw for 700. I go, that's not the NFL. Like, so he had to adjust. And then in 2019, he had the injury. There was a bad October. Looked like the train was going to be taken off the track. And he, again, was surrounded by great people and hung in there. The same thing happened last year, right? He had the injury against Jacksonville, has to come out of the game. We went on a 98-yard drive with Chad Henne, quarterback, Methuselah Moses. And then we go to the Super Bowl and he gets knocked out, basically. And he is, thank you to, for the long halftime. But what I don't know if they have talked or not. I kind of hope they would. Because Justin right now is getting thrown all kinds of shade on him. He's dealing with tension of external and internal. And I don't mean internal, I mean inside his own psyche, right? I watched him at Ohio State. This kid's a confident kid. I watched him last year. And so the question, I think, is he Lamar Jackson and Michael Vick? I mean, that 1,125, you're going, oh, my God. That's something else.
That was special.
That's in the history of the league.
Yeah, that was special.
So, and I know you got to be a pocket passer. You got to hit the 7 route. You got to hit the 9 route. The biggest thing is you've got to go down 4, less than 3 minutes, and I got to go 75 or 80 yards. Mahomes had to learn that. There was a growth curve. And where fans, I think, can hit the quick triggers like he's 6-23 and blah, blah. Well, he's dealt with a lot, just. I think Mahomes would say, you're a talented dude. You've got upside and ceiling here. Just hang in there. But we also know what you can do, and don't lose that either. And that is the ability to run the ball, a.k.a. Lamar Jackson or Michael Vick.
All right, we got a couple of guys that you faced last year in important key high-leverage moments. The Philadelphia Eagles, of course, in the Super Bowl. T.J. Edwards, my man from Lakes community here in the Chicago area. First guy to sign in free agency, Mitch. First guy, because he wanted to be a Bear. He grew up a Bear, blood navy blue and orange. House parties at his home out here in the northern suburbs every week. It was in him. He had to be a Bear. So he's a Bear. And Tremaine Edmonds in that great Buffalo Classic with you guys. Can these guys be a channel for change, those two linebackers, together now, as guys who are only, in my estimation, like a half dozen guys on this roster who, in their NFL careers, in games that they played, have winning records? That's it. This team is not a team full of guys that have learned how to win or have winning records. Does that matter that those two guys are here?
No question. And they've seen it happen. They didn't walk into winning necessarily. Maybe Tremaine a little bit with the Bills, but they were still at the start of what they are now and what they've been the last several years. And so it's like they have seen the secrets of the sauce, right? They've seen what goes into the mix, and that a week-to-week thing of the overreaction or thinking, gosh, we'll never get there, can be a tumor that grows inside the body, right? Those two guys, those are great examples because they've been around recent winning at a high level, right? These guys have played in championship games or a Super Bowl. And so they become I like your word, catalyst. They become a impetus for the rest of the guys. How do we handle this? What do we do? All right, guys, even on the offensive side. Jeff, what people do not realize, there's a lot of untold stories about the Chiefs in this 11 years now. And one of them, and here's where Mahomes fits right in, is that football teams, and I don't care, and we've seen it. I'm a Northwestern fan. Gosh, just turn me up seeing there. But it can be the U of I, it can be Northwestern, it can be Glenbard. I don't know. But football teams can be fractured 100 ways.
Yeah.
Because you have subcultures. It's not the Bulls, right? You have a defense and offense, special teams. You've got personnel. You've got coaching. I've seen it fracture 100 ways. But when you get a flow, here's where I think the next step is for the Bears. When you get this flow of what we've had now for 10 years, of vertical and horizontal understanding, idea exchanging, influence. Mahomes works with Spagnuolo, our defensive coordinator, and some of our defensive players, not as much as he does with the offense, but it would shock you. He'll walk into the defensive meeting or during camp and go, hey, you guys were showing me this. What were you doing here? And what should I do? Or how do I, and Spags and the guys will go, okay, right? We're showing you something that the Jags will show you in week 2, because the Jags are pretty tricky. I'll give you another example. Last year we played the Titans and we were stuck in mud and we're just kind of mudding through it. Hard game. We win Monday Night Football, but the defense, it was like our week 2 win over the Jags. Give it to the defense, right? And so the award, it was Sunday Night Football, I think. And so Mahomes got the Fickle Finger of Fate award or whatever they hand out, here you go. And he's like, why am I got this? He walked the next day. He goes into the defensive team meeting and goes, this is your guys's. This isn't mine. You guys won that game. Spags told me, and you got to understand, Spags has coached for 50 years or whatever.
I saw his resume yesterday. I can't believe it, how deep it goes, yeah.
He said it's only happened one other time, and it was with the Giants back in the days of, those great defenses he had in 2007. But he goes, here comes this dude who comes into our team meeting and goes, this ain't me, it's you guys. And that's when Spags goes, that's why we get teams off the field, so we can give the ball back to this guy. There is zero jealousy. In fact, there's this flow of information. So why am I telling you this? It's because of those defensive guys who have won, who can have influence on the offense. Yeah. And that's when you get that role in an organization, it goes a long way.
Not asking you for company secrets as we wrap things up here on Bears, Etc. with the great Mitch Holtis, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs. So we just got through Todd Bowles and his pressure packages. They're different than what Spags puts together. What is his secret sauce in terms of a young quarterback going in there? On the road in Kansas City, no less. That place, the last time I was there, the building was shaking as I stood there in the booth. I could feel it. Huh?
You beat us 18-17. I can still see Cutler's throw to fourth down. I still see it in my sleep. Cutler wasn't even wearing a face mask. He had like a cocktail and a cigarette. He's like, okay. It was like Bobby Lane. Yeah. He was like, oh, I better throw it over there. And I'm like, we just lost 18-17. So, hey, you got our attention. But to answer your question, Spags, Mike Dana, I had Mike Dana on a similar show yesterday, and Dana goes, he's a wizard.
Yeah.
The guy's a wizard. This is the best defense the Chiefs have had potentially in the Andy Reid era.
Wow.
And here's why. Let me give you a couple things.
Well, Chris Jones is back number 1. That helps.
That helps a lot. But we won a Super Bowl last year, Jeff, and we had 8 rookies on our defense and won a Super Bowl. That's an all-time NFL record. All right. Wow. And you guys were the only guys playing more rookies than us on defense last year and during the season. All right. Now we've added to that. But why is that important? Because Spags he's as creative on defense as a lot of offensive coaches are, because don't put an S on a guy saying that's a safety. He might be a slot corner or a weak side backer. Don't put he's the Mike and he's the Will. Nope, they're all moving around. And they will move personnel around as much as his strategic packages. That's what makes it difficult. You don't know where it's coming. Chris Jones, where's he lining up? But, look out for the other guys, because this is a pretty good defense now. They've gone 2 games and given up 2 touchdowns. We lose to your friends, the Lions, on a pick 6.
Yep.
Let's be honest. And drop passes that equaled, I call them hidden yardage. It's a big factor for both our teams right now.
It sure is. 100%.
The penalty yardage, not just the penalty yardage, but the yards you lose, tip passes, and the drops.
Yeah.
Right? We're 31st in drops. You're 27th. Yeah. All right. That being said, the defense won that game. It's 14 points, guys, and we did. But 2 touchdowns in 2 weeks. But you're coming after us. You got runners. I can't believe how Texas ever lost a game with Roshan Johnson in the same backfield.
Right.
Like, what are you guys doing? But anyway, point is, Spags will throw you fastballs, curves, sliders, cutters, but he'll throw them right-handed and left-handed. It's really unique. It's very different than anything you see in the NFL.
Big jab ahead for Justin Fields and the Bears. We'll see you on Sunday, man. Little bit of a welcome mat for us, right? We love going there. It's one of the most unique venues to go as a fan or as a broadcaster. Looking forward to it.
You know what? This has been one of the more demanded tickets over the past 5 years. And a lot of it is Bears fans are making this pilgrimage.
They're spending money. They're spending money.
It's crazy. They want it. They got lots of money, but they got your money. They want it, but they want to see it, man. They want to feel it and taste it. So it'll be a fun Sunday, my brother.
Thanks for your time.
Travel well.
All right, one thing I love about Mitch Holthus, he calls a great game. He knows the game. He knows the game very well. You can hear it in his calls, and I always respect that. And he's feeding the beast, so to speak. That fan base knows football. They love their Kansas City Chiefs, even before they were winning all these last 10 years under Andy Reid. But he knows to hit all the touch points for the passion of that team, and his historical referencing is unbelievable. So I enjoy talking to him a great deal, and I appreciate him taking the time, Tommy.
Let me ask you a question, though.
Yeah.
So I was reading something by him, and he says he's always nervous before the first preseason game, even though he's been doing this for 30 years. Do you get nervous before the first Okay.
Yes, and here's why. Well, and I know he doesn't do much other play-by-play. He used to do some college basketball, and he may still, I don't know, but I don't at this point in my career. So, it's like talking a different language on game day. So, my daughters, Kelly and Caitlin, very well, your Uncle Tom to them. And they asked me that same question this year. Do you still get nervous? And yeah, because it's just you're reacting to something that you don't normally react to, and you gotta go. It's like here's how I the very first game I ever did, as you recall, with Hub Arkish in the booth. We had a 3-man booth. We're at Soldier Field. It was old Soldier Field before the renovation, and it was a preseason game against the Cincinnati Bengals. And I remember. You're going at the end of a high dive board, and you have no choice. You can't turn around and go back. You just got to jump, right. and that's what preseason football is. And to some extent, when the games get bigger, you get more butterflies. Like I was talking to Devin Hester last weekend in Orlando, and he asked me. He goes, "Yeah, how do you prepare and do you rehearse?" And I go, "There's no rehearsing in football." You can't, there's no practice. You're not going Wednesday, Thursday, and go walk through on Saturday morning. No, you can't. You just have to react. And so it's the bigger the game, the more at stake, in my opinion. For every single snap, you got to call, because you never know when that next great play that will be on NFL films for perpetuity, and you hope you nailed it. Do you get nervous?
No, so that ESPN commercial I saw by you that you sleep with the Super Bowl trophy and the microphone, that's really what you do all
exactly. That one, see, it wasn't me that made it's you, and Caitlin called me up, FaceTimed me, and literally had tears of laughter. She said, Tom delivered the line of lines. Nature.
Right.
Nature. It was
nature,
so.
It's wild.
No, nature. It's amazing, or something like that. But it's how you delivered it. It's how you delivered it. So those were fun. This is ESPN Takeoff from the local think tank of Good Karma Brands.
Funny.
Yeah, if you check them out online. For all your journeys ahead, go with a partner who's been on your team from the beginning, the one members and communities have trusted for over 85 years. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Illinois, always standing by you, with you, for you, threw it off. All right, Braxton Jones. We complimented his durability, his ability to make every snap throughout the course of his early career here with the Bears. Now he's going to be down at least 4 games. I did see him in the locker room on Wednesday briefly. He says, "I'm going to be okay. We're going to be fine. We're going to be good." Aside from the injury to a neck, which you have to take seriously, how can he improve? This was a bit of a shock maybe to his system these first 2 games of 2023.
You got to stay in the meetings, man. You got to stay in the meetings and prepare as an active player. You can't lose mental. You can lose yourself mentally in 4 weeks or however long this is going to take to recover. So Chris Morgan has to school him, has to drill him, has to ask him questions as if he's the starting left tackle, and make sure that he stays mentally involved. And that's what he needs to do. Whatever type of training he can do on his lower body, he's got to still be able to do that. He's got to be on the stationary bike. He's got to do his conditioning to keep going. So when he is ready to come back, he can do it without skipping a beat. In 4 weeks, obviously, the weather's going to be cooler. So it's not going to be as strenuous as it was in Tampa, or 80 degrees and cloudy with 30% chance of rain this week in Kansas City. So, he'll come back to better conditions, but it's all about him staying into it mentally.
Here again, then, in the big picture, and Lucas Patrick was unable to practice on Wednesday with an illness, so this continuity we seek is not going to be there for many, many more weeks without the 5 intended parts to the puzzle. So are you concerned about this moving forward, about the offensive line? Now, right now, Avion Collins will be the swing tackle, I assume, and Larry Borom will get the crack at left tackle, unless they decide to move Darnell Wright from right to left. Would you be okay with that if that happened?
I would be. I think Larry Borom, he's fortunate to have the versatility and the athleticism to play both sides. But maybe if you can get a guy like Darnell Wright and prove to coaches that he is a solid left tackle, maybe that is his future for this offensive line. So it doesn't surprise me nowadays in the NFL that teams have very little continuity on the offensive line because guys miss so many games nowadays. But just think if this experiment worked out and said, oh, my God, Darnell Wright is making this left side of the line more powerful. He works well with Cody Whitehair, works well with the tight end position. Now we can Larry Borom, Braxton Jones, Avante Collins. We can figure out who is the best suited at the right tackle position. So one thing I would have to do is I would have to have a period of 2 of 100% effort. I can't examine his left tackle ability by going out there in no pads and practicing at 50%. That's unrealistic. So if you really want to see if you have a diamond in the rough in Darnell Wright, I think you really have to have a couple periods that it's supreme effort.
Now, the other side of the thinking is don't disturb a young player, and Coach Eberflus did indicate that. Keep him at right tackle where he's been trained from day one here. And would you be open to going out and seeing what else is available out there? Somebody that's a veteran of some sort. You don't want to bring anybody else in. Okay.
That's gonna take me a solid 14 days, which is 2 games minimum, maybe 21 days to have this quarterback come in and learn every assignment to its exact. And how do you work?
No, not quarterback. I'm talking about offensive line.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
It's going to take you a period of time before you have a player that can come in here and learn every single one of his assignments, first, second, and third down, on pass, on run, on moving pocket, play action, RPOs, all the different responsibilities you have. So, no, Ryan Poles does a nice job of judging offensive line, and I think whomever is going to be that next guy is in the room already.
Good news, Chicago United Airlines is getting brand new planes with all the bells and whistles like Bluetooth connectivity, screens at every seat, and room for everyone's roller bag. United proud to fly the Chicago Bears, and you too. Jeff Joniak and Tom Thayer on Bears, etc. All right, let's dig into the Chiefs a little bit. What are you seeing on tape? Let's start with defense and what Justin's going to have to deal with. Obviously, the blitz packages, it's different than what Bowles does in Tampa. They do play a lot of zone coverage on the back end. They don't want to give up big plays. They will run some risky stuff up front, try to get home and create some indecision and force turnovers. But overall, can the Bears, for example, run against this team? Can they defuse the bomb that is Chris Jones?
Yeah, they can. Steve Spagnuolo, the defensive coordinator, is a talented guy, and he knows how to use his talent. He'll move Chris Jones all around up the line of scrimmage. They have good pressure for outside. So to me, I'm going to set up a plan where if Chris Jones, I'm going to set him up. I'm going to have maybe strength to the left, and I'm going to have Chris Jones go to that 3-technique tackle or that defensive end position, and I'm going to run right. But I'm going to call it in the huddle every play. Example, blah, 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 2 or 3. That's just, the 2 hole to the right, the 3 hole to the left, however you number your holes. So I'm going to go up there, and it's going to be a complete check with me type of a game. And that way I'm always going to not always run away from Chris Jones, but when I feel confidently that I designed a play that I can run towards their vulnerability, then that's the way I would try to do it. So
as I researched this, 10 different Kansas City Chiefs piled up 24 pressures against Trevor Lawrence last week. Yep. What does that indicate to you? 10.
Well, they know Trevor Lawrence is a drop-back quarterback. They know that he's going to be on that spot. You know how we always hear during training camp, we got to get the quarterback off his spot. Well, they know what Trevor Lawrence is. He is the type of guy that he's got athleticism, but he's a tall, straight drop-back quarterback. So we need to get to that spot. And that's what Kansas City does, and that's what they do to whomever's playing quarterback. So that's why the suggestion of what they could do for Justin is don't set him on that spot or you're just asking for trouble. And it doesn't surprise me because Spagnuolo, like I said, he's been a defensive coordinator for a long time in the NFL. And then he has an offense up until this year here that scores a lot of points, that he can take more chances because he knows that Patrick Mahomes could get him out of it.
All right, let's flip to the offensive side of the ball. So many keys here. How do you deal with a playmaking guard, so to speak, in Patrick Mahomes and the unique relationship with Travis Kelce? Still working himself into shape. He had 9 targets, just 4 catches last week, but he can do some damage because they just know each other. They are the two-man game.
Well, first of all, if Patrick Mahomes, you have to interrupt this creativity. He's the most creative quarterback in the NFL. Arm angle, thinking process, diverse type of throws, head fakes, eye fakes. When he lost the Super Bowl against Todd Bowles, Todd Bowles put him in a retreat position. And so the Bears are 0-2. If you want to take a chance against Patrick Mahomes, if you lose the game, you lose the game. But don't lose it not being aggressive. Try to take advantage of some of the skill that you have on defense and put Patrick Mahomes in a retreat position and try to get him off the spot. Have him throwing off the wrong type of foundation. Try to make him look for open targets while he's trying to escape pressure. And they have guys that are capable of doing that. And listen, man, you're going to have to take some chances because you're just not going to sit there in a vanilla type defense and let him pick you apart.
Play with reckless abandon. Coach with reckless abandon. This is the 100%. World champs. You're going in, not that they care, but the outside, and Vegas says you're a 13-point underdog. You're a 2-touchdown underdog, which is rare in the NFL these days. On the road at Kansas City, it's going to be raucous. I do know Bears fans are trying to buy up some tickets and will be there making some noise, but they're going to have had to spend a lot of money to get into that place and get through the big red wave that is the Kansas City Chiefs fan base. So, an old football coach at Iowa State by the name of Jim Kreiner, he always used to say, I want my guys to play with reckless abandon. So play with reckless abandon. That's the only way to do it.
Well, one thing, too, it's not just offense and defense in this game because former special teams coordinator Dave Tobe works over there. If I have any 4th and 1 or 4th and 2, the Kansas City Chiefs, I'd be super suspicious. Yeah, there you go.
High alert for sure, yes.
Any type of creative type plays that he is willing to do. He's almost the face of special teams coaches right now in the NFL. He's had a lot of success. He had a fake punt run against him in week 1, and that he's still steaming from having that happen.
I do know also is very serious about ball security. Richie James Jr. had a muff punt last week, so he is the return specialist for now. But they have others on there. That could be a change there for all we know, headed towards kickoff. All right, well, it's going to be interesting, that's for sure. I'm looking forward to it, always am. When you go to take on a great team, you don't see the greatest of the great players very often in this league. There are only so many, and two of them are right there in Mahomes and Kelsey, and you can throw the defensive lineman in there as well, and Chris Jones. Big Tom.
You know, one thing about Kansas City, though, Jeff, there's a lot of distractions. So they got this new contract that they gave Patrick Mahomes, the most amount of money over the period of time than they've ever given anybody. They had the announcement that Travis Kelsey is now dating Taylor Swift. And that's going to change the media end of the questions that are going to be asked to him and the rest of the team. And that could create a little bit of a distraction. Then you got the Chris Jones returning after his absence there. Some of those things do interfere with preparation, and I'm not saying it's going to, but it is always a concern in the back of my mind.
Yeah, I think they're used to it, though. They've been on the big stage now, 3 Super Bowls in the last 4 years. They're getting grilled on all those media coming from all over the world for 3 Super Bowls. I think they're kind of used to it now.
Hey, listen, there's not a player on that team or has ever been with that organization that's as popular as Swiftie. So if you don't think that there's going to be some weird questions asked to Kelsey, you're not understanding, And I know you're a big Swiftie.
No, I'm definitely not. I did see her with the kids.
There you go.
Wait, I did not. Yeah, that's a conversation for Hyde Park in London.
Did you dance in public?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No, my buddy Pat Olson and I, we had some adult beverages, and we let the ladies handle that. Right now, when you spend over $2,999 at Steinhoffel's, you'll score a $100 Bears Pro Shop gift card. Visit any one of their 4 Chicagoland locations in Vernon Hills, Crystal Lake, Downers Grove, and Harwood Heights, or shop online at steinhoffels.com. Tom, final word. A lot of distractions certainly going around, but as a football team, you have only one choice. You get real insular. You go to your meetings, you go to practice, you prepare, you go play, and let the rest of everything else settle on the outside looking in. Is that easier said than done? Could you do that?
Oh, when you have an athlete like Justin, if you put him in the right position and make the defense vulnerable, you could talk about a game at the end of this afternoon that starts at 3:25 Kansas City time. He has 180 yards rushing. He got time of possession on offense. They give a chance to get some points to allow your defense to take those chances that we talked about. It's not out of the realm of possibility because they have to have defensive concerns when a guy like Justin is coming into the building. And after all the turmoil that was created today at the podium, now you got these guys on high alert.
Tom, are we going to do the 50-50 raffle in Kansas City? Every stadium's got it. You've been a big proponent that the booth, Doug Coletti, Paul Zarang, Little Z, myself, you, Jason, Sylvie will be in the booth this week doing pregame.
Well, he's not going. He's not getting 50-50. No.
I mean, can we do it just once? Can we just finally stop talking about it and actually do it?
Yes.
Let's get Coletti on the case.
Listen, it's a 3:25 start. We do game day live at the regular time, 10:30 in the morning. We may have a chance to walk into the stadium, buy some 50-50 chances, and give us the best of luck.
Yes, we'll talk about it on the podcast. And we're brought to you by PNC, official bank of the Bears. Tom, we'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening. Make sure you subscribe on the Chicago Bears official app, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks again to Chiefs play-by-play man Mitch Holthus. For Tom Thayer, I'm Jeff Joniak. Bear down, everybody. Have a great week.